Ishikohwa, Inikuda, Dishinwa.
Sure, Lozag. That's what they all say. Oh, hey there. Welcome to the Nerdy Photographer Podcast. I'm your host, Casey Fatchett. In addition to providing informative and entertaining photography-related stuff, content, whatever you want to call it, I also go on adventures with the crew of the Starship Fibonacci. If this is your first time listening, congratulations. Welcome to the show. If this is your 18th time listening, you know what you did. I'm currently hanging out at the Pouncing Lion, a local beverage establishment, talking with Lozag here about rumors of a quote-unquote fountain of youth in the area.
Iminishwa, Udu, Undidra.
He assures me they are not rumors. Speaking of longevity, in this episode, I'm talking with photographer Ryan Brenizer about how to have a long, successful photography career, from setting yourself up for business success to taking care of your body. All that after the break.
Bodulwa, Kidininia. Oh shit.
Hey, I'll follow you. Lead the way. Tired of juggling multiple programs to get the perfect look? Say hello to On1 Photo Raw, the ultimate photo editing software built by photographers for photographers. It's fast, powerful, and packed with tools, from precision masking to AI-powered enhancement. On1 Photo Raw gives you complete creative control without the subscription headaches. Edit raw files with ease, retouch like a pro, and bring your vision to life with stunning effects, all in one intuitive platform. Whether you're just starting out or you're a seasoned pro, On1 Photo Raw helps your photos stand out and your workflow stay smooth. Ready to upgrade your editing game? Download a free trial. Just go to nerdyphotographer.com/recommends/on1. That's nerdyphotographer.com/recommends/on1 and start creating without limits. Use our link and the discount code NERDYPHOTO20. That's NERDYPHOTO20 and save 20% off if you decide to purchase or subscribe to On1 software. On1 Photo Raw, powerful, creative, yours. Photographers, it's time to revolutionize your workflow with Aftershoot. Imagine culling through thousands of images in a matter of minutes, effortlessly flagging blurry shots and closed-eye pictures. Now you can stop imagining and meet your new photography sidekick, Aftershoot, the game-changing AI photo culling and editing software. Say goodbye to hours spent sifting through images, as Aftershoot's AI can cull thousands of photos in just a few minutes, grouping together similar shots and flagging those blurry or closed-eye pics. I have been using Aftershoot for a little over a year, and I have to say, it has transformed the workflow on the portrait side of my business, culling and organizing my photos from family portrait sessions to corporate headshots in a matter of minutes. For engagements, events, and weddings, it does a great job as a first pass cull for me, since I like to go through and make sure I didn't miss anything, but those family and group photos are all solidly organized together, and that saves me so much time. You can also make your artistic vision a reality. Aftershoot's automated AI editing is customizable to your unique style. Edit thousands of images in just a few clicks, achieving consistency and brilliance effortlessly. Sign up now at nerdyphotographer.com/recommends/aftershoot and experience the Aftershoot advantage with your first month free. Transform your workflow and transform your business. Go to nerdyphotographer.com/recommends/aftershoot or click the link in the episode notes and free up time for what you love by letting AI handle the heavy lifting, so you can focus on capturing moments and not sorting through them. Hello and welcome to the Nerdy Photographer Podcast. I'm your host, Casey Fatchett, and with me today, Ryan Brenizer. Ryan, thank you for showing up and being on the show. I've wanted to have you on for a long time and finally made it happen.
Well, thank you for having me. I am nothing, even before I was a photographer, I was a nerd. So very happy to be here.
You're in good company. Before we get started, we're going to roll the dice breaker to get us. It's an 8. What is the worst investment you've made or purchase you've made photography related? Could be a gadget of some kind, could be anything, whatever, what was
I tend to be really careful these days. So I gotta to go worse. I gotta I gotta really, think back. Um, I've always, even like before I had a kid and I just had like money to like more money to waste. I was pretty good about not like I was like, oh, I really want the 200 f2, to use for like 4 photos at a wedding, and just burden myself all the time. And I'm a heavy renter, so I God, worst.
Or I would say least rewarding, even, or that you that.
Yeah, yeah. I've had it's like saying like, what's your favorite restaurant in New York City? Because I've had so many over the past 25 years. Um, and I've far more regretted things that are not at all photography related. Um, so that is we're starting with a we're starting I look like a terrible guest to start because we're starting with a really bad one. Well, so
Or
at the
investment in
time,
your business, like things that
if I want to, if I'm thinking about this because it's been exactly 20 years. I mean, yeah, I've had a lot more, bad investments in business, but especially things I didn't do, and we can talk about that. But at the time, 20 years ago, I was so jealous. I was on Nikon when like virtually no one in weddings was on Nikon, because it was so comparatively noisy. So 20 years ago, this week the D200 came out, and there was so much that I loved about it. If you were out in the middle of the daytime, it was great, but it got super noisy at ISO 800. And that was also the time the 5D came out, which I know could barely focus only with the center focus point. But between having like an f1.4, a 35 1.4, which Nikon didn't really have at the time, and then the noise difference, like you could shoot in like 16 to 20 times less light effectively with a 5D than poor me over here trying to shoot in low light with a D200. So at the time I regretted it. Then of course, like it kept me on Nikon until the D3 came out and everything changed. So I don't regret it in hindsight. But I look back at those files and it was a little rough. It was definitely a rough time.
Yeah, I look back at photos from like 20 years ago and think to myself like, oh, well, the technology really is better.
Yeah.
The resolution and quality and noise, and I'm like, oh, I can push a photo now like a couple of stops or more. And I look at those photos back then. I'm like, once I go up one stop, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh boy, that's not
Oh
looking
yeah,
good.
and I rented the 5D and I was like, oh my God, I can shoot like 1600, 3200. But you couldn't, I found you could not push the files at
No,
all. I was like, oh, I'm shooting 1600, and like, let me push it to stop. And like, oh, I can't do
yeah,
that. So
as a Canon shooter, no, like not back then. You couldn't. You were getting a lot of noise in the shadows. Um,
yeah,
for
we did
the
our best. I mean, it used to be a lot easier. Same thing with like weddings. Like you used to be able to have a really experienced photographer, or there was a good chance that like you wouldn't get photos. Basically, like they would not turn out. And so it used to be a lot easier. I mean, the last time actually that I truly had a card fail, like fail, was like 20 years ago. Again, when most people here do not remember micro drives,
yeah,
which was putting a spinning hard drive, a tiny spinning hard drive in your camera. And if that sounds like a terrible idea, it really was.
oh,
And they would just outright fail,
yeah,
as you would expect.
I had a Sony Mavica with a CD in it for a while for portraits.
Mhm.
I would never take it to a wedding, but it was burning onto a CD, like a miniature CD, in the back of the. People were like, "What? What do you mean burning a CD? What is that? What even is that?" No, this was
Yeah.
like actually burning a CD in the back of your camera to store the images. Like it was the buffering was not great on that one. It was
No.
fine for portraits, but it was not so great for events. For those of our listeners who are unfamiliar with Ryan's work, as you said, you've been a wedding photographer for 20 years. Some people might know you as popularizing the Brenizer technique. It's a very funny
Mhm.
story. I was doing like bokeh panoramas a while back. I would normally you do them for portraits. I
Yeah.
was doing them at like ceremonies where I'd have this great view, and I'm like, I can't get this view in a nice like I want a shallow depth of field, but I want to get the whole view of like the church or the temple or whatever it was. And I was doing it one time, and my second shooter said like, what were you doing?" And I was like, "Oh, I was doing a panorama. I was getting everything." And they're like, "Oh, like Brenizer method." And I was like, and I went, "What?" And I was like, I hadn't heard of it, and I looked it up. I'm like, "Oh," and I know you've been very specific about saying I didn't create this technique, but I would say you definitely popularized it among people you
Yeah,
know.
I mean, there's a lot of things. If you go back in, in history, there's a lot of things that were invented by multiple people just at the same time. I mean, I think even like calculus and things like that, Newton and Leibniz and television, radio, like either pieces or just was like sort of the right conditions. And so, like if you really do a deep dive, like I was not the first person to ever do this. I think there's like one guy that like shot a car in GP review forums and things like that. But I mean, I did, like same thing. I came to it personally. The only difference is it was a little earlier than almost anyone, and B, like I was so dedicated to sharing that like the very day I was like, oh my god, I figured this thing out. I ran on the internet and was like, I want to share this. I want other people to do it. Because it's like probably almost the worst thing to do this technique with is a portrait because
Yeah,
people move, right? You're doing a panorama of something that moves. My first shot ever was just a gravestone. It was the same thing. I just kind of did the math in my head and was like, wait a second, this should work. And I took it home. It was actually on my honeymoon. And I took it home and was like, I know it's my honeymoon, but I'm going to run a lot of panoramas like every night. And because I was so excited about this. But yeah, I mean, that's how it works. I mean, I independently found like stumbled into Bounce Flash. I did not invent it. I would like in the sense that in a way I invented it because like I'd never seen it. But I was back in the day, you like couldn't just find out things.
right.
Like
Yeah,
you either had to like go to a workshop, have a mentor. Otherwise it was just like you pick up a camera and you say like, what else can this do? You had to like everyone had to be like Jimi Hendrix with a guitar and like how does a guitar sound if I take the back off? And so I was like this flash like it bends up and wow, if I bounce it into the ceiling, it's a totally different light and I like this so much better. So like in a way, same thing, the way that you did invent it. And I totally forget his last name. Is very famous. His name is Joel. He
McNally.
also like independently invented it, but just like I got there, yeah, I got there just a little bit first. Now I did not I always want to say this. I didn't name it after myself. Some people in Flickr forums named it after me. I I kind of embraced it because I spent my whole early life with no one ever being able to pronounce my last name. So I was like,
Now they can.
now people have to. That's kind of funny.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
familiar with that.
yeah.
The and I think it is that sort of like that nerd thing where we're like, oh, yes, it has existed before. Like where people think like, oh, Henry Ford invented the car. No, there were like dozens of cars, the types of
Yes.
cars
I
before.
actually I invented L'Hopital's theorem when I was in high school, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, look what happens when things like approach zero and infinity." And I had my own calculus note. What ended up being calculus notation? There's technically three notations, and then I was like, "Oh, I'm like 200 plus years too late."
Yeah, so let's
Yeah.
say like when an idea is like the uh, when an idea's time has come, like multiple people will have
Yeah,
had.
when the conditions are right, like all of a sudden, it was so easy. It's actually easier than any of the cameras I've used since I switched any of the Sonys, anything like that. I had it just so easy to do panoramas, on the Nikons. Like I had a button that locked the focus, locked the exposure, all very very easy. And so you just
Yeah,
like at any time you could just take another frame. So it would take a whole bunch and be like, oh, I can't quite fit everybody in this frame and a shot. Boom, boom, boom. 2 shots, 3 shots. And yeah, what happened is I was just doing panoramas the traditional way all the time because I was in Ireland and I was panorama, 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 and I was like, wait a second,
What if I,
what is a panorama?
what if we put people in
Like
this?
the lens is the same, the exposure, everything, it's all the same. What's getting larger is the sensor. And as the image plane gets larger, I mean, if you've like the difference between an iPhone and M4 III camera, 4/3, and full frame, and a like in the days of large format, it took the most tremendous amount of skill to have any depth of field at all. If you're shooting 4x5 or an 8x10, and so that's all it is. You're just making the sensor larger, and so yeah, it's been fun. I never do them just to do them. Like it's always to serve a purpose, and so it's a little bit less now. But I did a really nice one to make clients happy the other day, and it was fun. It makes me want to like go out and find really good reasons
Yeah.
to really make it work.
Yeah, when I was mentioning, I used to do it at, well, I still do it sometimes at um, during ceremonies because people aren't moving quite as much. So
Yeah.
if you're in the middle of ceremony, you can get people standing pretty stationary, but like there's a view of some kind that I was seeing, and I'd be like, okay, this is why I want to do it. This is
Yeah.
why I'm interested in doing this. And I don't do it at every thing, but it's but yeah, now you're talking nerdy to me about the like depth of field, sensor size, those sorts of things that you sit there and think like, oh, well, what if I did X, Y, Z? And also we have the benefit now. It's funny, like the stitching is so much easier than it used to be in a lot of ways.
Oh yeah. I had to use there's software that's on my computer, though it doesn't work anymore and cannot be
I
activated.
think I know which one you're talking about.
The Auto Pano Pro, like it's out of business. I'd have to go like deep into forums and find an original serial number. It got bought up, and then and it's still on my computer just out of like nostalgia and care because because now Lightroom works. You used to not be able to do very many photos at all without it just crashing.
Well, this brings up kind of the subject that we were getting into, like in being around for a long time and seeing all these changes. Like we're going to talk about longevity in your business, and we've both been around for a while. I've in 20 plus years. See a lot of people who sort of burn out on the wedding industry, especially, or just on photography. In a handful of years, and you have to kind of look at it as being like, if I want to do this for a long time, how am I going to set myself up for success?
Yeah.
So that being said, what would you say are like some of the keys to long-term, like keeping a career going? I think this is the difference between like you can be, I mean, a hobbyist photographer for decades and like what you consider success or successful, but like having a career, which is something where you are making money and doing this for decades, or if you want to like do this for 20, 30, 40 years, like how are you setting yourself up for success in that way?
Yeah. For the most important thing, and this is really my I only have like a couple real advantages, and this is one of them. Is you have to find the love. You have to. It has to be something that when you do it, it makes your day better. And for me, the love still always, and I it's not just a thing. It's both a thing that I started with, but it takes real work to keep it going. Is that like I can have a bad day. I can be just in the worst mood, and maybe sometimes I'm like, oh, okay, I don't want to do anything, and I have a shoot. But at least like the second the shoot starts, it's making my day better. I have been in like situations that you would say, I can't believe like you could go to work at all that day. And yeah, it really is like, it's a huge advantage that like the things I say in client meetings, I believe.
Yeah.
When I say like, I love weddings or somebody like, these are things that a lot of people say. But after, I've personally shot close to 1,000 weddings. And I really do. I still get so much energy and joy and come home with my cheeks aching from smiling behind the camera. Now, there are things that, I wish I loved every aspect. I do. I've been very good about finding the things that I love about every aspect of shooting. So even things that few people love, like doing large sets of family photos. It's not art. I'm not looking at it for creative expression. But if you are good at something and you can take joy just from being good at something, and what I'm good at in that is running the logistics. Everything from like, here's a family list. I'm going to make it as efficient as possible and say, okay, where are the kids? Are they in a good mood? Let's do all the kids first. Who has mobility issues, which includes anyone with anyone in a wedding dress, and people like, let's make sure we do them all in the same time, and it really is like nerdy fun to then say also, okay, family shoots usually start late. Can I take these people who are really stressed out, usually the worst part of their day, and put things back on time, make people happy? Those are things that I like, even if there's nothing awesome about the photos, because they're really important. Now, there are aspects I have not been as great in. I think I'm learning now basically to try and fall in love with social media again. I mean, I remember even 12, 13 years ago, I was like, the best part of my day is when I don't post to social media. It was when I decide like not to post a photo publicly, because I like onto social media. In fact, I think I am one of the first people to have gotten over social media, because I was over it in 2005. Because I was on Flickr, and there's so much I loved about the groups and the things like that, but I learned early on the idea of audience capture, and that you have to avoid that, because like 2005, I was barely a photographer, and but I was on Flickr, which means all of a sudden, this was totally new to post a photo and get instant feedback, but get data to say people like this photo more than this one. And I immediately saw, I was like, this photo that people like the most, this photo is terrible.
Right.
I don't like this photo. What is going on? There's a real disconnect. And and to say like, okay, I could either be the person that says, I'm gonna lean into this and keep taking the kinds of photos that people are responding to, even if it's not my favorite kind. But I didn't want to do that. So in a way, ever since 2005, I've been trying to like kind of work against that. And yeah, so that's a little bit of my claim to fame, but it's more important every day, because you can't fight the $1 trillion companies that are behind it.
that are shaping, like our experience in many ways. And I find that interesting, because the like I go about it in a similar way. Like, there are photos that I don't necessarily love to take, but like there's the must-haves, like you're saying, like the family portrait, or whatever. And we can make this a fun experience and not painful. Like, I get a
Yeah.
lot of people who come to me. Like, there's the feedback thing. One of the things I always try to tell other photographers is, who is giving you the feedback? Is it people who are going to hire you? People who are going to pay you? Like, if you want to have like a career at this and you want to get paid, are you listening to the people who are going to like pay you and want your services, or are you listening to other photographers who are we're never going to hire you? Are you letting that shape or influence what you're doing? And I've seen a lot of people who are just like, I'm trying to get more clout with other photographers rather than
Yeah.
take a picture that really reflects who I am as an artist or reflects what my clients want. Because that's a big thing for me, is like talking with my clients and like collaborating with them and like saying like, okay, who are you guys? And let's get some photos that really bring out your personalities and your relationship, as opposed to saying like, we're doing a jumping shot, like that sort of
Yeah.
like that sort of thing, that like, like that's what you don't fall for trends so much
Yeah.
when you're like thinking about like, okay, I really want to serve my clients and like give them what speaks to them. Because I found out, I spent the first 5 years of my photography career like looking around at other people and going like, oh, this is what wedding photographers do, these are the
Yeah.
things that whatever. And then I started to realize that people were coming to me for, like, they didn't like to pose, they didn't feel comfortable on camera, so I had to adjust accordingly. And I was like, okay, I'm getting that feedback more and more and more. There's something about how I handle people, and what I love about it is that sort of like making people feel comfortable and bringing out the love and the beauty in their relationship, as opposed to like, okay, we're gonna get X photo that I take at every wedding. That's what I find exciting, and I was finding that of my clients, the people who gravitated to me were people who felt the same way. So then I started accentuating that, and like, one of the best pieces of advice I got was like, you don't like taking these pictures? Stop posting them on your website and in your portfolio. Like, don't make them the focus of what you show people. You still have to do the photos, like the must-have family portraits, but like, don't make that the centerpiece of your portfolio. Show them the photos that speak to you and you find speak to your clients, and that's how you attract that people who are I have to think of a word, fervent, or fervent admiration of your work, and are willing to spend the money on
Yeah. Yeah. You show what you want to sell. And in a way, in very real ways, probably mostly real ways, at least artistically, I was at a disadvantage in that, again, back in that day, and even just what wedding photography was. I had been shooting weddings for about 2 years before I even knew there was such a thing as well-known wedding photographers. And so, one of the things is like certainly my first wedding was terrible. Just like, like, because I at least the portraits, because I was a photojournalist, and I didn't know portraits and wedding portraits. I'd never, like, barely seen one. And and so much, like, I showed up. I remember I showed up, to getting ready with the hairdresser. That's what they do for a living. And she just looks at me. She's like, why are you here? I don't understand. Why are you photographing people like getting their hair done? Because she'd never seen it. But so you really, like, on the other side, the advantage was like a lot of these things, I didn't do things just because I'd seen other people do them. So I made things up as I went along, and I photographed the things that I loved about weddings. So I had probably a slower start artistically. A lot of people now can come out pretty strong in their first wedding because they've seen so many things that they can copy. I did not have that. Those photos are still online, and the couple loves them from back in the day. But the portraits were objectively not good. But it allowed me, again, like I said, there's freedom in saying like, oh, this is what a flash does if I aim it upward. This is how I can take photojournalism and turn it into weddings. Because when I started out, I like wedding photography was still like the redheaded stepchild. People, including me,
Yes.
was like, what I'll never do is I'll never photograph a wedding, because it felt like writing cookbooks, which also writing cookbooks has also changed a lot. But it's as a writer, I was a writer. I was like, well, that's like just writing just recipes and not the stories that are around them now. And it was only when I just stumbled across the Wedding Photojournalists Association, and I was like, wait a second, I'm a photojournalist. And I loved weddings always, but I didn't love the wedding industrial complex stuff. I loved being around my crazy family and dancing and celebrating, and to say like, oh, wait a second, oh my God, you can capture that. You can and people want that and buy that, and that can be wedding photography. And so that was when I started to get the idea of like, okay, this is actually something I'd like to do.
Well, I think that's the thing. Like, it doesn't matter what you're doing. We're both in the wedding business, and I completely agree. Like the things that I gravitated towards in weddings, the things that I really loved were the relationships that people had, whether it was with their family, friends, their
Yeah.
partner, all those things. Those like showing photos that like really in a genuine way captured those. Because when I started, I was shooting film, and it was so nerve wracking. And you're like, okay, I've kind of got to stage some of this stuff because I need to know that I am getting the shot, because I don't get to look at the back of my camera and see that I got the shot. And I was still doing like the candid photos when I was shooting film, but I was like, I really had to give myself a lot of leeway as far as like how much film I was using to like, am I getting this? I don't know. I have no idea if I'm getting this. Then with digital, I was like, okay, I have a lot more flexibility creatively to know whether or not I'm getting the photo, and
Yeah.
I can really reach for those things. But it's about finding those things that no matter what type of photography you do, finding, like you said, the things that you enjoy about it. Otherwise, you're gonna burn out. Otherwise, you're
Yeah.
gonna it's gonna be, I hate doing this because all I'm doing is the things that I dislike. And like I try to listen. I am the worst person about delegating anything. I don't, because I don't trust that it's going to be done to my level of like what I want it to be, and that is a personal like obsessive compulsive sort of like thing that is just like, okay, it has to be done in a certain way, or I'm afraid of sending it out to somebody else to like call my images, because I was there, I took the photos, I know what that the emotional value of a photo is more like trumps the technical perfection of it. And I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, this photo's in focus, like it's better, that's the better one. Like, no, I'm okay with a little bit of soft focus if I'm getting the emotion out of it, because I know the relationship between these two people and why that's important to the couple, those sorts of things. So I'm hesitant to send out that stuff, but I will delegate like somehow to other things as much as I can now as I'm older, because I'm like, I don't want to spend so much time on the things that I don't enjoy doing. Like
Yeah.
so that if I can like find ways to outsource what I can, or to streamline that process with technology to make it smoother and easier, like I'm trying to do for my like wedding couples. Like I'm trying to make the timeline as smooth and painless as possible. Like I need to show that same sort of care to myself in the process of the work, and like how do I make this like smoother for me and more enjoyable and less painful. But I think that everybody has to, if you want to have a career, a lengthy career, like more than a few years, you have to find those things that you really enjoy in it. Otherwise, you're going to grow to resent the job, and wonder like, why am I not just? I see social media kind of like poisons the well in a lot of ways, because you like see the best of people's like careers or whatever, like, and the sort of like staged, like, hey, this is for social media, hey, everything's wonderful and it's great. Like you don't see them like 2 o'clock in the morning trying to edit something to get it out by like a deadline or whatever. Like you don't see that part of it. But that's, you have to find a way to come to grips with those things, and like you said, find what you really love about it, because otherwise you're just gonna, like, you're gonna be miserable.
Yeah,
Probably, but you are.
and fewer people, the way the education industry. I mean, I haven't even paid attention to the education industry in 10 years since I stopped doing my own workshops to raise a child. Um, but again, people will tend to gravitate to like who has the most attention grabbing images. But you know what workshop I want to attend, what speech I want to go to is, who's been taking deeply mediocre images for 20 years and is just wildly successful. Because, like, I used to ask this when I would give talks. I'd be in front of a room of 300 people, and I would say, okay, who got into photography, wedding photography because you love photography, and you said like, I love it so much. Why don't I make some money doing it? Versus, like, who said, you know what I really love, running a business, and what kind of business should I run? Why not wedding photography? I feel like, out of 1,000 people, I would get maybe one or two, and I said to them like, you two, you're going to be successful because the photography is almost the easy part because it's easy to love, and so again, you're gonna keep like just like, oh, this is neat and this is cool, and much easier to not burn out on. But then the business, like, you don't even have to be the best in the world at business. You just have to be better at business than a bunch of artists who don't like business.
Right.
You don't have to be faster than the bear. You just have to be faster than the other guy.
Right.
And I was like, so you guys are automatically going to be successful. So that's the thing that people need to learn. Unless you're going specifically to, here's something that I want to expand about myself, in photography. Maybe you're going to people who like the foundation workshops, or people who are really experienced photojournalists came from there. But otherwise, it's going to do less for you if you want to expand your weak spots, which is what courses should be, and as opposed to like, hey, I'm out there killing it, even though like I know my images aren't great, or I also would love to go to lectures that I've never seen of people who crashed out. I want to go to a panel lecture of people who failed and had to quit the industry, and that's the point of the lecture, because I want to know, how did that happen?
Right. What happened to you?
What do I avoid? Like, what was because there's more of those people than anybody else, and that's an important lesson as well. But instead, you just have all you have is like, people get up, especially if they haven't done 100 lectures. They want to show. Of course, they want to show. Here's my favorite images. Here, I'm really cool. I'm really awesome. I want to feel good about myself when I go to the party after. And you just get a bunch of those. One of the best photography lectures I ever went to was somebody who knew nothing about wedding photography, was not a wedding photographer, did not know anything about the industry. It was at the Way Up North in Rome. Yeah, Rome, where I was speaking. And she was in advertising. She was in sales. And so she came in with like, it was almost like a YouTube reaction video, where they didn't even have at the time, where like it's very important that you haven't seen this stuff before. And she comes in and says, so guys, I've been looking at all your work, and it's amazing that everyone who gets married is young and white and thin. um, and just like coming in and saying, I am a very seasoned professional at doing this thing that everyone has to do, but I specialize in it. I am just a marketer. I'm just an advertiser. And here's where all you people who specialize in photography, you are failing.
Right. Well, it's the sort of like the thing that one of the things that sort of turned around my mindset on how I approach the business side of it is a book. It's called To Sell is Human. It was kind of taking out the sort of like used car salesman feeling of this. And it's like, you really have to like learn to engage with the people on the other side and think about your work and how they see it, how they see what you're putting out there. and like what it makes them feel like. And like you're saying, like if there's no variety to what you put out there, like then people are like, okay, well, if they are not strictly like fitting into whatever narrow band of images you put out there, then like you're like, I don't belong here.
Yeah, and it's important on the photography level, and then you expand that. It's important on the business level. Like what um, I think is a great advantage to get married. Like if you're a wedding photographer, you should get married. Just find someone, go get married.
You
because
changes your viewpoint of it.
and then just practice marriage. Get a divorce, like a green card marriage, because like going through that process and seeing like the surprises. So on a photography level, again, one of my advantages when I started, I attended, I had my professional work and I had social media work back in the proto social media when it was so rare. But I also went to photo school. I went to the International Center for Photography, and so I had these three things, and it's very, very different because the people, first of all, I started in photojournalism. Those people would tear you a new asshole in ways that people online don't. You would come in, present your photos of like this event that happened that day, and the old school editor with like a whiskey bottle on his desk would be like, "Were you drunk when you took these?" And then at the photo school, people would like storm out of the room crying because it was so intense. But they all like different things. Now I took a very early on, maybe as I was shooting my first wedding. Actually, it's the reason I shot my first wedding. I was taking a documentary class with a guy. Basically, he lived the wire. He was a Baltimore Sun photographer for 30 years, amazing documentary photographer. And so in hardcore, International Center for Photography is hardcore. First assignment, go find a stranger on the street and let them take your portrait. Cool, I can do that. Let them take your portrait inside their house.
Convince them.
Oh, and you had to do that. Like, I have to find someone on the street and be like, "Hey, I need to figure out how to get your trust so that you'll let me into your house and take a portrait." Second assignment. Okay, we're going to pair people up, man and woman, male and female. Great. You guys are going to take portraits of each other, and we are going to discuss them in front of the class. Okay, good. You're going to do it in the nude. You're going to go to that person sitting next to you. This is a documentary class, and so we're doing portraits. You're going to take nude photos. Those photos are going to be displayed on the wall while everyone's talking about them. A third of the class dropped out at that assignment, but the important thing there is then to understand what it's like to be the subject under like the most vulnerable circumstances. Because otherwise, you're like, why are we doing portraits in a documentary class? It's to know how do you get trust. What is it like to need to trust somebody? What is it like to be in that position and be so vulnerable? And it was intense. And it's not the kind of education you tend to get if on social media.
No, it's like, and as someone who came out of journalism originally as well, like that, whenever I see somebody like get like genuine constructive criticism, and they're like, oh, and they kind of like, they draw back at that. They're like, oh, why are you being so critical? And I'm like, oh, come on, this is nothing. Like you're saying, getting like yelled at by an editor who's like, what is this? What did you bring me? It's like the people who would just like peel your skin off, feeling like you're like sitting there like as your work is just being dissected for how bad it is. There's a part of you that needs to let go. This is something that I took a long time to learn. Let go of the ego to an extent when you're and hear what people are saying about it and why they're saying it. Like someone online can say something about my work and I can just go like, you don't even know what I was trying to go for here. I can brush that off now in a way that I couldn't earlier in my life. But when it's a client and I say, how do you feel about these images? And if there's an image in there that says, this photo makes me feel uncomfortable, I'm listening to that, because it's like there's somewhere that I didn't do my job correctly in that. There's a feeling of like, for me, that is a different sort of feedback than some random on Instagram who's just like, oh, this is terrible. As opposed to a client who says like, this selection of photos, I'd look at them and I don't feel comfortable. Like I can tell that I wasn't comfortable in that moment. And that sort of feedback is completely different. Being able to sort of compartmentalize those things is a big deal.
Yeah, I mean the old saying is the customer is always right, which is not true in any objective sense. Sometimes, but if you find that all your clients, if you feel they're all very wrong, you might have a misalignment with your clients. But what's unambiguously true is your clients are the best focus group you could possibly have, and even your like I used to. Before COVID, we would meet with all our clients in person and I would show them a slideshow and I would watch their reactions, what they focused on, what they didn't. And I missed that because it was absolutely the best possible focus group. And because I would be like, oh, that's the one everyone likes.
They're reacting to this. Yeah.
But that's more important than what I like. When you have a good alignment with your clients, because again, that's your perfect focus group. These are the people who chose to come into your office and liked you enough to say they might hire you for their wedding. And yeah, that's the thing. One of the things I really miss about having more in-person client meetings.
One of the things that I found that I still do that I mean, it seems like a really basic question, but like asking people, no matter what the scenario, when you're meeting with them, and if it's Zoom or email or in person, so I was asking like, what was it about my work that drew you in? Because it tells me so much about what their thought process of what they want out of these photos, and B, like what they might see something in my work that I wasn't intentionally putting out there. Luckily, at this point, I feel like we're pretty aligned. Like the people who, when I ask them that question, they tend to like say the things that I've been like. I always say like, I'm glad that that message is coming across because that's what I'm trying to put out there. But then there's sometimes where I'm like, I hear somebody and I'm like, that's not exactly what I was going for, but interesting. Tell me more about that so I can learn more. The other thing is always asking people, after they don't hire me, why they went in a different direction. And most of the time, you're not going to get an answer. But when you do get feedback, it's another great focus group for you because it tells you so much about your process from like your website or however they initially found you through the sales process. And if they say like, one of the things for a little while I was dealing with a lot was people would say like, well, we're getting married in a very dark venue. And, we didn't see a lot of like, and I'm like, but I sit there and like, I am actually pretty good at lighting. And like, I feel like there are photos in the portfolio. And I went through my portfolio and it was like the photos that I had chosen that were in a dark venue were lit in such a way where it didn't look like a dark venue.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay.
And that's to them, that's how they wanted it to be lit. They wanted it to show what the venue actually looks like, which is really important for a lot of photographers. I was just having this debate on Reddit yesterday, not just not even a debate, but just telling people that like they chose their venue because they like the look of it. So you don't want to change the look of it too much. You want to have the because that's really important to them. I mean, Tatiana, when at my latest wedding, she our reception space was super dark. Our photographers are like, thanks. And she wanted that so much. We almost put a photo booth in there that was like lit up, and she flipped out. She's like, I need it dark. This is, so like when this was the debate I was having yesterday, when videographers come in and just like set up lights and keep them there, you're killing it. It's you're killing the vibe, man. And the vibe, it's not just like ruining a party, you're ruining something that they've been planning for 18 months and spending tens of thousands of dollars on. So yeah, it's not, you have to figure out like all the perspectives. You have to figure out the perspectives of people. Most people, most of their complaints, like I almost love very, very type A people that will tell you any complaint, big or small, or the smallest complaints that they had. Because boy, oh boy, do I learn from those.
Yeah.
Like for the first few years, I would always say, when somebody would say like, "Oh, we love everything, but like my aunt wasn't in any photos," and my thought was like, "Oh, that's the complaint people have when they don't have any real complaints." But that's a big thing. It's a really big thing. That was a big complaint we had with our wedding photos, and it's incredibly important. So now, I'll do things from like, if I enter a reception, I'll say like, okay, who are the people that are going to be on the dance floor all night? I won't focus on them yet. Who are the people that are going to leave early? Who are the people that are not getting up? How can I find them? How can I get something good to them? Because that person, who the way they enjoy a wedding reception is just kind of sit there quietly, and that could be one of the most important people in the life of the bride or groom. Right.
Yeah. That's why I try to like do I have my own ways of doing it. Like if I'm going to find my period of time where I'm going to find the people who have like sat down and are not getting up and doing anything. I'm like, okay, I'm going to get some great candid shots of them having conversations and being engaged with somebody else. Because like you said, there are going to be people who are on the dance floor. We're going to be there. I got plenty of time to get them. It's to kind of build off of what you were saying, like the people who will complain and tell you anything or whatever. Or one of the things that I have gotten to say, because we've gotten to ask as part of like my standard sort of follow up after anything, is what could I have done better? Is there something like what do you think could have been handled better? Where can I improve? And then you'll get people who will say like, oh, everything was fantastic. It was the most wonderful thing. You know what? Here's this is something like, and it's like they feel more comfortable saying it, because I'm definitely saying like, I'm always looking to get better at this. I want to do better, so that they feel more comfortable. And like, because some people feel like, I don't want to critique you. Like, I don't feel, because I did have a great experience with you. But if you're saying it in a way like, I always want to do this in a better way. And that's how there's numerous things that I've now become strengths, I feel, of my business, because I asked those questions and then listened to them. It took it to heart, like what you were saying.
And there's a couple of things about that. I mean, first, again, it really takes putting your pride aside. And second, it's really good to ask the people who have expressed a lot of happiness and who won't say anything. Also, partially because you might have to put your pride aside less, but otherwise because you're only going to hear from the people who are unhappy about something. And the other danger is to try and hold everything that everyone's ever said in your head every time you shoot a wedding and say like, okay, I've got to shoot the back of the dress because this one bride one time got it. I really got to focus on the card box because this one bride, this one time, there's not even a card box. I got to find the card box. You're just reacting to trauma all the time, and you want to talk about something that will burn people out from weddings. If you're every time you shoot a wedding, it's just a collection of reacting to past trauma from upset clients, right? So you don't want to take things as gospel, but you do. The more that you ask, the more you say, oh, this is a thing I hear a lot. And even I would also talk to everyone who's ever been married.
Yeah.
And it's even better to say like, hey, what did you not like? And I heard from a lot of people that said things like, you know what, there was a couple who, man, oh man, they are such good dancers. They killed it on the dance floor. Half my photos are of them. I haven't talked to them since the wedding. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. So if there's somebody killing it, I'm gonna get good shots of them. It's gonna happen. They're the people, but because it's hard not to. But I'm gonna focus on them less and think about them less, because there's going to be good shots of them no matter what they do. But like, who are the people that are hard to? And I learned that really early on, not by talking to clients, but just by people who've been married.
Yeah, it's that thing of like I became aware of that, and like it was this sort of thing like, okay, I can't let somebody else become the stars of this
Yeah.
shoot. And one of my favorite instances of that was like there was a couple. Again, they're killing it on dance where they're all like dancing all night, whatever. And I got my photos of them, but I had said something to the groom. I was like, "Oh, like these two are really living it up out there." And he goes, "Yeah, they just met tonight.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
they didn't even know each other. It was they just happened to be like they're really hitting it off." And it's like, okay, good thing I sort of took the step back because I didn't know what the
Yeah.
situation was. They weren't a couple. They were just like two people who love to dance who happened to be on the dance floor together. Like they're again same thing. Don't let them become the star
Yeah.
of this.
And and again, why you want to spread out? One of the things that I learned and surprised me about my own wedding is I didn't even get to talk to some of the most important people in my life, my aunts, my family members, but I got into a 15-minute conversation with somebody's plus one.
Yeah,
And so if you just said like who's around them, like even that, I mean, I one of the things, if you take nothing else away from this, so many weddings have almost like very little focus on the mother of the bride. There's generally no mother daughter dance, and if they're not like there, they're getting ready. I've had weddings where like they don't interact, but like the mom planned that wedding and thought about it for the last 10, 15 years, and like it's even if they don't express anything, I've learned that boy oh boy are they thinking about it and not saying anything. So I learned to really focus on them. And I remember 10 years ago I had a wedding where the bride said, you know what, my biological mom, she's not like I don't know her that well. I've been raised by my stepfamily and my stepmom. She's like, you don't have to take all that many photos of her. And I was like, okay, fine, thanks. That's what I told her. And internally, I'm like, you better believe I'm going to take good photos of her. And we did. We took really great photos. And she died in a car accident the next week. And the photos that we took were her memorial photos. And the bride was unbelievably grateful and is still just like, and that's what we do. I mean, another thing that really affected me in photography in general and why I love documenting families, my father passed away when I was 8, and he was a huge photo geek and multimedia geek. So he passed away in 1987, and unlike most people, not only do I have photos of him, but I have VHS video. He would have that big old camera, walk around carrying the VCR,
yeah,
and people thought he was on the news. And I have this. That's all I have. I have this stuff, and so I like this is real. Like, of course, it's easy for me not to get burned out because I am always presented with why this is real,
yeah.
why this is important, and that stuff is hard to figure out. But still, another thing to mention about burnout is that if there is anything and you start to feel 10% burned out, act on that right away, because once you're 90, 100% burned out, it is so hard to come
Yeah.
back from that. So if you start saying, "Oh, this is the thing that I hate," figure it out. Can you not hate it? But if you can't, that's the thing that you delegate.
Well, I think that when because you have to start it early, especially when we're talking about like having this be a long-term career in photography. There are a lot of different things that you have to think about. Like, I'm getting older. My body is not in the shape that it used to be when I started doing this 25 years ago. Like what do I need to do? Do I need to do more yoga? Do I need to stretch? Do I need to like lose weight? Do like those sorts of things? Like I used to carry around all of my equipment in a shoulder bag for everybody, and I would carry it around almost all day until we got to the reception. And my second photographers would be like, "Man, like you're just like a Sherpa, just like carrying around like 50, 60 pounds of equipment like throughout the day," because I was like, "Oh, I got to switch lenses," and I'm just like dip into this bag and like pull out, whatever, and I had everything on me almost all times, and that was a mental thing. But I like realized that my body could not maintain that over the long term, but I need to figure out something else. Or, there's so many other aspects. Like you said, when you're doing this for a long time, you're not just dealing with taking pictures. You're not
Yeah.
just dealing with uh, the like, oh, how do I put together my website and best present to clients? There's a lot of other factors you have to take into account.
Yeah. So overall, I'm almost 47. I'm in some of the best shape of my life because of a lot of very conscious choices. And I'll work out specifically for wedding photography. Like if I'm squatting, I'm not like cheating and doing as much weight as I can. Like I'm putting on really lightweight and getting really really low. It's called ass to grass, like so low, because that's such an important thing to do. Like Asian squats, deep squats. I did a video on this recently. It's an incredibly important thing to be able to do in weddings. It really, really opens up different options for you. And so I will often do things at the gym that are not good for the ego, because I'm like, okay, how hard can I make this movement? How little weight can I put on? Because I am making it as difficult as possible, the most stretched position, um, and in whatever you do, and that's just because I'm trying to be very, very, very functional with it. And yet still, even with that, like I right now, again, you got the same thing with burnout. You have to pay attention to anything in your body when it starts. So I'm starting to get golf elbow in my left elbow. I've never played golf, but I've held a camera the same way for 20 years, 25. And so like when I'm in that like supinated position, even with all of a sudden with curls, I can't do that because I feel it in my wrist, I feel it in my elbow, and I'm listening to it, I'm rehabilitating it. I bought the 50 to 150 f2 this year. Amazing lens, like and light for its specs. I mean, just incredible. And it started to flare up my golf elbow. So I said, nope. And I returned it because like once that happens, once it's chronic, once your knees go, once you're in so much trouble. I mean, you want to talk about something that's going to burn you out, being in tremendous physical pain every time you shoot a wedding. And so yeah, again, there are advantages either that I had and capitalized on or made for myself. And I had an ex-girlfriend who she came along. She was a great physical trainer. She came along and assisted me at a wedding once. And she said, the way you get down when you get down to take a shot, you're going to blow out everything if you keep doing that. And she was like, same way you would deadlift, same way you squat, same, like you have to pay attention because you got no weight, but you're doing it a million times. And I mean, thank God, because again, my back is great, my knees are great. So I'm right now I'm really paying attention to that elbow, and I'm like, oh, okay, it's October. I'm doing a ton of shoots, but I'm using my cameras are so much lighter than they used to be. The worst thing ergonomically, which makes it seem so much heavier. I mean, I used to have like two D3s hanging off my shoulders on straps all day, but they had flashes on them all day. I'm not using the flash, just hanging off, and it makes it so ergonomically weird. And now again, I've got these these tiny Sony cameras, really like small, not the tiniest, but really really small lenses, like the 24 millimeter f1.4 Sony is just like the best lens in the universe, and so small for all the things it can do. And again, I'm not using an f2 zoom, even though again the Sony ones are lighter than they should be, but not light enough. Like the 28 to 70 f2, if you're using one camera all day, I think it can. Like if you're doing family photos, like it's another amazing lens. But it's especially the Canon. If you ever seen the Canon,
I haven't.
holy cow! I mean, I call that the carpal tunnel. Whenever I see a videographer of that, I'm like, jeez,
I can't
man.
imagine shooting video with it. But this is like if is for. I like to refer to it as like there are times when I'm like, okay, I'm going to have a lot of different situations that I'm going to be in today, and I can't be
Yeah.
switching back and forth between different primes or whatever. I try to shoot with primes whenever I can, but that thing is like, okay, like if I'm shooting on a boat.
But do you do it when you have two cameras? Do you have that thing hanging off your shoulder?
Yeah, I mean,
No, I would watch out for that.
well, there's a lot of things going on with my back that I'm working on. But I had the elbow too. I had the elbow for a while on my left arm, and I rehabilitated that and I work on it every day. Like there's stretches and exercises that I do every day to like keep like both arms to keep my wrists and elbows and all those like ligaments and everything stretched, strong. Because these are the things like that you don't think about. If you don't take care of them, you're going to end up in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, and anything that makes you say, oh god, I have a wedding today. You got to really pay attention to, and that even if you're so emotionally keyed in, if it causes you tremendous physical pain, you're not gonna like it. And this is not. It's not as far as businesses go, it's not a great business. Nobody says to their children, listen, if you want to make really, really easy and reliable money, be an artist. Unless they're terrible parents. And it's better than most. I mean, there are professional poets out there, but there's so many easier things to do that if you don't love it, if it doesn't give you energy, then you should probably do something else. So you have to find the things where not just like, oh, I like photography, but like, I like this. I like wedding photography. I like being there. It makes my day better. I've had weddings where like, because you have to be a little bit psychopathic. There's no sick days, no matter what. I've done 900 plus weddings. So I've had some really bad days, and I've had weddings where I have to go. I'm like, okay, okay, just gonna take like a couple minutes, and I'm gonna go over here and vomit, or I'm gonna go into a closet and just find a time to like cry, to sob for 3 minutes because of something that's going on. Okay, now I'm back. Now I'm 100% on. You have to be able to do things like that to be a wedding photographer. And that is not something everyone can do. But if it's something that you say, okay, I'm going through this, but my day is better because I'm at a wedding. And whatever it is, I mean, for me, like, especially if it's something that's always true no matter what, right? Even if it's a difficult client, even if it's a difficult day, even if you're not going to get your portfolio shots, but if there's something about a wedding that you love no matter what. So, and there's a number of things for me. It can even just be the fact that when I'm at a wedding, I know I'm at the right place. Today, I'm doing the right thing. Because when you're in an office and when you're a parent, like, especially with a small child, there was always times if I was with my child, I'm like, I should be working. If I was working, I'm like, I should be with my child. Like if I'm working on the studio, and so like, especially like having your studio right there, I'm like, I'm playing with my child for 6 hours. And I can see that computer and I got photos to do. Okay, I got to move my photo. Now the kid's on the iPad. Like there's always those thoughts. But like when I'm at a wedding, I know I am supposed to be there. I'm doing one thing today. And even just that is like an amazing feeling for me.
Yeah, I think that one of the best things is my wife will put me in the right mindset, because there have been times when dealing with like horrible loss in my personal life or like whatever else is going on, and she'll just say to me like, go be amazing.
Yeah.
It's somebody's big day. Like you're going to be there to be there. Like, and that's the thing that gets me, because like one of my favorite things about weddings is helping people, and not just taking pictures, but like I'm sure you've done as well. Like sometimes you're people's therapist or the
Yeah.
comedian to like cheer them up, or you know, get them away from some bothersome family member who's bugging them about something they don't want to talk about, and they're not getting time to spend with their spouse, their new spouse, and they want to get like 5 minutes together. So you're there to like, I'm gonna hey, let's take some pictures, and I'm just ushering them out of the room for a minute so they can have a moment to themselves. And
Yeah.
that's the thing that she reminds me of is like, this is why even if you are feeling like the weight of the world is upon you in some other way or whatever, like you go there and help those people. And it really, for me, that's a big part of the joy, as we've been discussing like throughout.
Yeah. And that energy is real and it's deep. When you're genuine, you're looking back and saying, "Oh, I did something good," and that can keep you going so much more than like, oh my gosh, instead of 100 likes on this, I got 120 likes. Yay!
Oh.
That there can be times that like you can really feel that, and there can be times that pushes you forward. Great, but it doesn't last nearly as much as saying like I did something real. I mean, the thing that I miss most about doing workshops, and I would love to get back eventually, is not like surface praise, but I have a bunch of people who come to me and say like, you changed my life. You made me like be a photographer. You made me pursue this. And like and now, so not only have I changed them, but like they've gone into weddings and they've taken lessons that I helped shape them, the values in which I pursue weddings, and they're helping those people, and that stuff that feels real, and that's a thing that really, 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 as my son gets older, I'd love to. I'm sort of dipping my toes back into education, and it's for that.
And I think that's like you said, you got to find like these things that I don't know. I think about legacy sometimes. It's like, and I think that's a kind of an overused word, but it's the like, what have I done that is positively impact other people, positively impacted other people, and whether it's I, we've kind of gone through this in different things. Like, I've many times have gotten the call, like, can we use the photo you took for somebody's memorial?
Yeah.
And they're like, we'll pay you for the. I'm like, nope, you don't have to pay me for the print. I'm going to send that to you. Just let me know where I need to ship it to, what size it needs to be. Or decades later, seeing, your the photo you took at their wedding is still their profile picture.
I love that. Oh my God. Like
Or
I was like, I took that in 2009,
yeah,
and it's still like you're like for your profile photo to be anything from 2009.
yeah, and
Like that is amazing. I was just seeing that yesterday.
well, it's
But yeah, one of my yardsticks that I want for longevity is that I want to do the wedding of a flower girl who was at a
hmm,
previous wedding. I've gotten close. I last year I did the wedding of somebody who was a 14-year-old junior bridesmaid. Once upon a time, and I'm like, oh yes. But of course, in New York, people tend to get married a lot later. I still do a lot of like 50-year-old clients who it's their first wedding. But yeah, I'm like, oh, I gotta do that. I gotta do that. This like 4-year-old. I gotta do their wedding
yeah.
someday.
Well, it's like
Um,
you're gonna do the kids' wedding of somebody who's like you photographed their wedding, like would be like that's up there. I've had the
yeah.
pleasure of, um, like last week, I did family portraits for a family that I've known for 16, 17 years. I met them by doing I was photographing a Halloween parade at the school that their kids went to, and I ended up doing bar and bat mitzvah photos for them. But now they're in like wedding age, so it's like
Yeah.
I just did the family portraits. Met the boyfriend of one of the daughters. It was pretty serious with him, so it's like, oh, that's like, oh, maybe. But then there's also like these sort of like one of the real marks for me, like it makes me feel good, is having people come back over and over again. I did the weddings of 3 sisters,
Mhm.
and this next year I'm going to be doing the third and fourth weddings of siblings from another family. Like where it's just like,
Yeah.
okay, like where they keep coming back to you, and it's like that's the sort of like you show up at those sorts of things and like everybody. It's like you're part of the family,
Yeah.
and it just feels
Yeah.
like that's a real.
I've done the three sisters, and that like, but when when you're on the last sister, you're like, I wish you had more sisters. I have another family I dearly love, and I've done two of the sisters and one of the cousins, and then there's the kid sister. I'm like, I see you have a boyfriend, but I'm like, but she's actually famous, and I'm like, God, I know there's so many people who are gonna do your wedding for free, but like, come on, I just want it not because you're famous, but because like.
Because
I
of
love your family. I just you want to complete the collection.
yeah, well, you're
And
you become so emotionally invested,
yeah, I mean,
and
I when I see them, and even I mean, so many social media, like it's algorithmic, right? It shows you what you want, and mine is not like a bunch of like awesome wedding photos. It's usually when I log in, it's the families of the people that I've photographed,
yeah,
because that when I see that, I'm like, I'm going to click on that. I want to see your baby. I want to see, like, it makes me really happy. I want to see how these families that I saw get formed, how they're growing, how people are doing. It's. I mean, we just did our first birth photography for a former client, and just to be part of all these things is incredible. And now again, I've been doing it for 20 years. I have started this fall. I've had two former clients who have died, and and it's their memorial, and that's so. This happens, and it's unbelievably intense. But to know that like the spouse has these things that you did, it's just intense on another level. I actually just this morning delivered photos for somebody whose husband had died, and I did portrait photos, and it's it's that next stage, and yeah. But these are all real. These are. I mean, I have one more thing that really. It's about that the fact that like this is important. If you want another thing that makes it impossible for you to be burned out ever again, um, try to get in a situation where you think it's going to be taken from you, or where everything's going to be taken from you, and find out what devastates you. And then when you get it back, so what happened, 10 years ago, I was diagnosed with MS. And I didn't know anything. The only person that I knew had MS was somebody who was severely disabled. And I thought, like, oh, this is going to be me. I'm not going to be able to walk at my wedding. I have to, I'm not going to be able to do another wedding. I'm done for. And I was, of course, devastated in so many ways. Now I have my ends up like my doctor has told me I have a 0.5 out of 10. I do all the right things. It's literally the least of my problems. I've been asymptomatic for the last 10 years. But I had that moment. It was taken away. And then I got it back, burned out for a second sense on being there. Sometimes again, like 2 a.m, you're working on photos or something, like that's not great. But I can always remember, like, I didn't think I could do this. I didn't think would be at a wedding. And so it doesn't matter what's going on. It doesn't matter what kind of wedding it is. I am so excited to be there every time. The happiest person I ever met, and this is not obviously universal, the person radiated joy everywhere he went. He was a Holocaust survivor. And I can only imagine that whatever was going on, he woke up every day and he was not in a concentration camp. And so he's happy. that not universal, but that was how that was his reaction. And just the happiest person I've ever met was a Holocaust survivor.
It's like you said, it's a matter of like perspective, I think. And like when you are given that perspective of like, this could be gone, or this is how life could be, or understanding, like I lost my parents in 2020. It was very traumatic for me because it was 2 weeks of each other. They both passed away. And it was like, it's something that I don't like go to wedding clients and be like, hey, your parents are going to die. Because that's just like, but I'm saying like, I talk to them about like how much in the future, I kind of put it in the framework of like, hey, your life's going to change in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, whatever. These photos are going to capture a particular time with the most important people near you.
Yeah, and they will understand, one way or the other. Yeah, we don't discuss why we take a few more photos of the oldest people at weddings, but we've been through it. I mean, there's so many. I mean, there's so many people. It's been 20 years. There's so many. I mean, most 20 years, and New York City has older clients. I mean, like every grandparent, whose wedding I did 15, 20 years ago, I would imagine almost all of them are gone. And even a lot of parents, because again, we have older clients and it's been a long time, and it's part of it. It's part of it. It's not, and for me, it's a huge part of it because it was a formative event for me to have my father die. So the bigger lesson, even if it's not that, is you find the thing that feels real, that makes you say, even if I'm having the worst day of my own life, it's going to be a little bit better because I'm doing a shoot. There's even just the idea, like even engagement shoots, because there's a physiological, psychological effect that when you're happy you smile, but also smiling makes you happier. So sometimes I've been in a terrible mood and I've either had a client meeting or an engagement shoot, and you have to smile and you have to be positive. And then by the end, I'm like, you know what? I kind of feel better because I've just been like, really, if it wasn't, at least you feel better than you did if it wasn't like, something completely devastating. But you say like, I feel a little bit better. And often I feel a lot better. And so, yeah, there's so many ways that this has been a blessing to me, even though it's a job. It's not, and it's certainly not always easy. I mean, we've been through periods where it was illegal. We've been through a pandemic while our job was being surrounded by people all the time. And traveling and doing a bunch of things that all of a sudden were illegal or weren't happening. And you're like, why? All I could say to myself in 2020 was like, at least I don't own a bar. At least I don't have rent, to like corporate rent. But it was incredibly rough. But you find if it itself helps you keep going in life, and you find that, then you will find ways to hold on one way or the other.
Hey, photographers, imagine losing every photo, project, or document in a single crash. Scary, right? That's why there's Backblaze, the simple, reliable, and automatic way to back up your important data and photos to the cloud. Photographers, creatives, and everyday users, Backblaze protects what matters most with unlimited backup and easy recovery whenever you need it. I use Backblaze as part of my workflow to back up my most recent shoots until they're delivered to my clients, my most important business photos and documents as well, and all of my personal photos and videos. It's just $9 a month or $99 a year for unlimited data backup from one computer with 1 year version history and access to your data from anywhere. Crashes happen. With Backblaze, your files are safe, secure, and just a click away. Start your backup today at nerdyphotographer.com/recommends/Backblaze or click the link in the episode notes, because peace of mind is priceless. That's nerdyphotographer.com/Backblaze. because you never know when a crash is going to happen. Hey photographers, are you ready for a website glow up? Get supercharged with StyleCloud. StyleCloud offers beautifully designed, high-performing website templates built just for creatives like you. Whether you're showcasing weddings, portraits, or passion projects, you'll look as good online as your work does in print. Were you left high and dry and wondering what you were going to do with your Flow Themes website when the company shut down? No problem. StyleCloud makes migrating your Flow Themes site easy. Your content moves over, no stress, no mess. Plus, import your images directly from your PicTime galleries. No downloading, no re-uploading, just seamless integration and stunning design. Visit nerdyphotographer.com/recommends/stylecloud or visit the link in the episode notes. Save 15% when you use code nerdyphoto15 at checkout. That's nerdyphotographer.com/recommends/stylecloud and use code nerdyphoto15. StyleCloud isn't just a template, it's a launch pad for your brand. Get started today.
Hey. And now for my favorite part of the show. What's that say? Useless information. This is always death.
Ryan, on average, 100 people per year choke on ballpoint pens.
Wow, is that United States or worldwide?
I think that's just the United States.
Wow.
But it's people chewing on their pens.
Choke to death?
Yes.
Wow. That's impressive. Yeah. Pens, they're killing machines. I've always said it. This is it's probably more now because this is a 20-year-old statistic. But do you know what one of the most dangerous foods in terms of preparation is? It's a breakfast food.
Eggs.
Bagels.
Bagels. Oh, people take too much of a.
So it's a little hard on the outside, softer on the inside. If you're cutting, and you're cutting towards your hand. 20 years ago, it was 800 people a year went to the hospital with bagel injuries.
Well, you got to get a bread knife.
Yeah, you get a bread knife and never cut towards your hand.
No,
Always
you got to go. Like, there's a technique for cutting the bagel. You usually have like the spot where it was connected to another, like, or this, you put the bread knife in there and you work your way around. You don't go like. Yeah, you don't cut towards your hand. Hey, also with a bread knife that's serrated, you don't want to deal with that.
Yeah, if you ever even are, if it's pointed towards your hand, this is key bagel information. I move the bread. I don't move the knife.
Yeah.
Right. If I'm because then oh my god, bread went into my hand. But yeah, you always find a surface. So there, that's not useless.
Important bagel. That's important, vital bagel knowledge.
Yeah, we've saved some thumb webs right now.
Probably. At least, and again, that's going to live down through the ages. That advice is going to spread from one person to another.
That is the next Brenizer method of bagel cutting.
Bagel cutting. Bagel Brenizer method.
Absolutely.
Brenizer bagel method. BBA. Awesome, Ryan. Thank you for being on the show. I really appreciate you coming on. Where can people find you? It's
basically all either you can find me at the gym in Montvale because I actually use it as an office a lot just to not be in my studio all the time, but online everything is the Brenizers. I'm going to relaunch Ryan Brenizer as a corporate, but right now it's thebrenizers.com, the Brenizers on Instagram, facebook.com/thebrenizers. You just name a platform and put in the Brenizers, and there I am.
And you can find I'll put some of those links into the episode notes so people can find them there. Again, Ryan, you're welcome to come back anytime. It was really fun talking to you.
Great. I'll see you tomorrow. No, this was awesome. Thank you so much.
And welcome back. Many thanks to Ryan Brenizer for being on the show. Did you enjoy my talk with Ryan? If you did, be sure to let us know. You can do that on the socials at The Nerdy Photo. That's at The Nerdy Photo. No dots, underscores, or dashes on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, TikTok, and Reddit. Or you can leave a review and tell us how much you love the show. You should also head into the episode notes and be sure to follow along with Ryan on the socials as well. We've arrived where Lozag said we could find the Fountain of Youth, and it appears to be a bunch of children dancing in a pond. Not what I was talking about, Lozag.
ガシャウェ聞いてるのは
Well, they're definitely minors.
のしきティティハハハうんのこ
Miners, not minors. Do you see any digging equipment around here? Until next time, stay safe and stay nerdy.
Who's that coming back to town? You better start listening. Who's your heart been beating about? You better listen.